Good morning, everybody. This is Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. And folks, this is my last show in the state of New York for Boy Green Daily because as soon as I get off this show, I'm jumping on a plane and we're going to Dallas, baby. And the next couple of Boy Green Dailies ahead of the Jets-Cowboys game on Sunday will be live from Dallas. Looking forward to it. Before we go, I got to have a chat with a special friend who's got some Cowboys love. We'll trade some barbs back and forth, but it's time to let this party get started. Let's roll, baby. Zoinks. It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
What's poppin', everybody? Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We're streaming live simultaneously in 3 different places. The Heavy on Jets Facebook page to nearly 36,000 New York Jet fans. Thanks for joining us. My YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25, and on Twitter as well. Show your love wherever you happen to be watching the program. And I was talking about this with RJ earlier this week, RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys, that one of my favorite parts of the Jet season and any season is networking and meeting new people. That part is really cool. Rarely do I get to dive into my own knowledge of people right around here locally to trade barbs and do all things football. And I get to do that with one of my best buddies on the planet. That is Brandon Clements of Blogging the Boys, a good buddy I've known for a long ass time, as far as I'm concerned. And let's bring him in. Brandon joining the show for the very first time. What's up, Brandon? What's poppin', baby?
Well, what's up, brother? It's been a long time coming. We've done a lot of work together over the years.
Yes.
Even we've even had our own podcast together. So it's fun. It's fun to get to join you and get on this Boy Green Daily. This is a beautiful thing. You're one of the best in the business, and as I'm getting prepared for Cowboys Jets this week, I'm definitely keeping my tabs on whatever you're putting out on social media because your content is top of the line, baby.
I appreciate that, brother. And yeah, we've done sports talk radio connections before, working at ESPN together. So yeah, there's a lot of connective tissue here. And let's start it off on a general level. Jets Cowboys. Now, it's not much of a rivalry because these teams just don't play often enough. It's once every 4 years, but it's a weird trend recently. The Cowboys haven't beat the Jets since 2007. It's odd. They've played both at MetLife and, of course, at AT&T. The last one at AT&T was back in 2015, that magical year, which was supposed to be for the Jets, having that 10-6 year. But on the other side, like, the Cowboys have been this really dominant team recently. So how do Cowboys fans like you look at the Jets, especially now, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, that chess piece, has been knocked off the board here?
Oh, dude, it's been tough the last couple of days here since Aaron Rodgers' unfortunate injury. Obviously, wish him all the best. Achilles injury, a guy close to 40. I wanted to see him play against the Cowboys. I know you're going to be at the game this weekend, so I was hoping to see him against the Cowboys. And Aaron Rodgers, he's dominated the Cowboys. Unfortunately, the Jets have kind of done the same since 2007. And when I think of 2007, that's the year I graduated high school. So that's a long time ago. So I'm a little bit older. So when I hear 2007, I'm like, geez, that is a long time. But I will say this, the little nugget about the Cowboys history, the Cowboys lead the series 7-5. So I'm going to take that and run. And we're going to bring it to 8-5 this coming weekend. But even though Aaron Rodgers is out, the New York Jets, a lot of respect to the New York Jets. They got some guys, and it's going to be an interesting Sunday afternoon football game.
You know, it's interesting, Brandon, that a lot of Cowboys people I've talked to, both on air and off air, have not given a lot of respect to the Jets. Like, hey, the Jets defense is pretty good, but, like, obviously a completely different animal. These are what some of the Cowboys people have been telling me that have been both on my show and I've just kind of reached out to for Jets Cowboys week, that they've kind of like Zach Wilson. The Cowboys are like an annihilate Zach Wilson. That's been the breath so far. By the way, a quick shout out. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers and the Achilles surgery. Throw this up on the big screen for people who are watching on our YouTube channel. Aaron Rodgers last night, he posted an update that he underwent surgery yesterday, which would have been 2 days ago. So that's Wednesday is when he had this surgery. And he gave this quick note. Surgery went great yesterday, which again was Wednesday. Thank you for all the love and prayers and support. And thanks to Dr. Elatrosh, who's done both Zach Wilson, Mekhi Becton surgery, and he's well known for his craft, and his staff for starting me on the road to recovery. So Aaron Rodgers, again, obviously out for the season, but the good news is Aaron Rodgers on the road to recovery. And by all accounts, he will plan to return in 2024. We'll do a check on that. He will be 40 years of age by that season. So we'll keep an eye on that. But let's keep it here for the current Jets and Cowboys outfits, which is happening here. And again, I'm just so intrigued that I have to continue to bring it up here, Brandon. Your Dallas Cowboys, America's team, Big D, gave that Big D to the New York Giants, and it was an absolute bloodbath. And really, I feel like one of my big takeaways is that the Cowboys offense really didn't have to do anything because the weather, defense, special teams, and everything, they just completely whomped the Giants so quickly that the Cowboys didn't have to do anything offensively. So I just still don't know what the Mike McCarthy-led offense with Kellen Moore gone, I don't know what equates to. I heard McCarthy talking earlier this week. He's excited to kind of unload the full plan because in weather games, you have to take some of what you were going to do off the table because of the weather scenario. He said he was very excited to unleash the package. What does that look like? What will be different with Mike McCarthy calling plays for the Cowboys as opposed to Kellen Moore of the last couple of years?
So you're going to see what's called the Texas Coast offense, and it's a West Coast style offense. You're going to see a lot of intermediate passes. You're going to see, it's going to be get the ball out quick, get it to your weapons, and let them go to work. So that's really what the offense is going to entail. And it's not just that simple. There's a lot of weapons that the Cowboys have. So they're going to be they're actually been using a guy named Kevontae Turpin a little bit more than we expected. In that 40-0 blowout against you guys share the same dojo at MetLife, the New York Giants. So 40-0. That was a heck of a game. But the thing that I like about what Mike McCarthy's bringing to the table is he's using guys like a Kevontae Turpin more than what Kellen Moore did last year. So it's I'm looking forward to seeing what Mike McCarthy will do, because it really is an unknown right now, because you hear about it all in camp. You see a little bit in preseason, but you're not going to show the whole bag of tricks, until you need to. And when the Cowboys played the Giants, it was already he came out, it was a 40-0 game. So Mike McCarthy didn't even have to pull out his best tricks because the game was already in hand very early because of a tremendous block, scoop and score, nice block by Wanye Thomas, one of our second-year players that made the Cowboys keep 6 safeties on the roster this year. That's how good he is. And a nice scoop and score for our guy Iggy, who was a recent acquisition from an in-division rival of the Jets, Dolphins quarterback Noah Iggy. So I'm not even going to try to butcher his last name, so we just call him
Smart
Iggy.
Man.
But he's a heck of a player. He's a good player. He was a former first-round pick, so he scoops and scores. I didn't have him on my bingo card for Cowboys touchdowns at all this year, and he gets the first one, so that was interesting. But yeah, you had plays like that. The defense. We're going to get into that a little bit, but I'll just say this: Mike McCarthy, he didn't show anything really. I mean, Dak Prescott threw for 143 yards, which if you look at the box score, you're like under 50% pass, or barely 50% passing, 143 yards passing. To me, that's nothing. I've been on multiple shows where I've said to anybody that's going to listen, Dak Prescott is going to throw for 5,000 yards passing this year, and I got a lot of crazy looks. But you know what? That's an average of about 300 yards a game, so he's a little off pace right now. He had less than $150. But Dak Prescott, with the way this Texas Coast offense is supposedly built, we haven't seen it really in full force yet because we haven't had to. But when they bring that offense out with all the weapons that they have, Dak Prescott, don't be surprised if he throws for 5,000 yards in 2023.
By the way, subtle flex. I'm on a lot of shows. Very nice, Brendan. You just got to slip that in there. Very good work. And why wouldn't you be? Yeah. Why wouldn't you be? You're a freaking superstar, baby. Brandon gosh darn Clements here, baby, is here from Blogging the Boys, covering all things Dallas Cowboys. He's part of their amazing team. I want to throw this up there. I know it'll probably be hard to see from a text standpoint for those who are watching. I know we also have audio listeners as well. The injury report came in yesterday, and there isn't much to report on the Jets side. They have 3 limited participants, and it shouldn't be a surprise because that is Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton, Breece Hall, but they will always be limited participants. Breece Hall coming off of surgery, Dwayne, actually all 3, quite frankly, all 3 coming off of surgery from the offseason, so they will have a plan throughout the entire offseason. So no red flags there. The same can't be said about the Dallas Cowboys report. There's a couple of guys that are interesting. Brandon Cooks did not practice on Wednesday or Thursday. He suffered a knee injury in that Giants blowout, and he had a couple of catches, nothing too crazy, but an intriguing guy that's had a lot of production, a lot of places. Tyler Smith on the offensive line. And here's the one that raised a lot of eyebrows late yesterday. Was Zach Martin popping up, who I think is an absolute Pro Football Hall of Famer. I'm glad the Cowboys figured it out. He's a freaking stud, a superstar. It's always bad or not ideal when guys pop up in the injury report when they weren't on the injury report prior to that. Zach Martin with a groin, limited participant on Thursday. That's a whoa, mamacita. Like, that's a guy that brings a lot of chutzpah to the table. Any worry about him or any of the other guys in particular? Like I said, both Brandon Cooks and Tyler Smith have not practiced yet so far this week, and then Zach Martin popping up on Thursday. Any concern there?
Zach Martin, zero concerns. I think Zach Martin's going to play on Sunday. Everything that I've been hearing, it sounds like he's going to play. It's just one of those things. It's a maintenance thing. I think he, with these soft tissue situations, anything that's a little bit sore, you give a guy like Zach Martin as much time as he needs. Clearly, he didn't do much in the and with the team in the offseason here as he was working out the deal with the contract, and he came in and played very well against the Giants like everybody else did with the Cowboys this past week. But yeah, I'm not too concerned with Zach Martin. I know at least he was limited. It wasn't a DNP, so I'm okay with that. Now, Brandon Cooks is a little more concerning because it is an MCL situation. From what I've been seeing, a lot of people are equating it to a Felix Jones, a former Dallas Cowboy from many years ago, who actually played with a similar injury. I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen with Brandon Cooks. It's one of those we're going to wait and see over the next couple of days. The expectation for him is they're going to try to get him out there, but at the same time, they're going to use abundance of caution. So at this stage, the Cowboys, we'll see. They might be down Brandon Cooks this weekend. Hopefully that's not the case. But if it is the case, there are guys. Obviously, a CeeDee Lamb. Not too concerned about that. CeeDee Lamb's one of the best receivers in the game. We also have some great tight ends, some other great playmakers that, if Brandon Cooks is unable to go, which, there's nothing confirmed at this point, one way or the other. But I'm not concerned with him being out because there are so many weapons on the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, let me bring up Michael Gallup, who admitted last year, obviously, so it was 2 years ago he had the injury. Last year, it was his first year off of the injury, and he admitted that, one of the big things I could tell you as a guy who's recovering from an ACL, it's trusting the knee to do normal things. And obviously, it's to a different level from my fat dad bod to an actual professional athlete out there on what the body is being asked to do on a day-to-day basis. For me, it's being parked on my couch watching football as much as possible. But for him, he couldn't trust it last year, but now 2 years removed from it, and potentially with Brandon Cooks potentially being out. Again, we have no idea what's going to happen here, but again, it doesn't look good with the DNPs the last 2 days. If he doesn't, I think Gallup is more than capable, and he's proven it in the past, obviously, and he got the contract of he potentially stepping right into the light of getting some of those opportunities, some of that target share that would be suddenly off the table from Brandon and potentially up for grabs for somebody, which could just be Michael Gallup stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, Michael Gallup is one of those dudes, and you're absolutely correct, and firsthand because you're dealing with the ACL injury, so you know how that situation goes. And I've said it on multiple occasions on any of the Blogging the Boys, any show that I've been a part of. Michael Gallup, the last year to me was more of a recovery year for him, where it was just getting him on the field, getting him live reps, getting him just acclimated, with the new. Because I say it's a new knee because it's not the knee that he had before. He had to get a major surgery done, and as you know how that goes. It's just not going to happen overnight. But from everything that I've ever seen with any professional athletes, not guys like us with dad bods and whatnot, but professional athletes, they usually take at least a season to get really back in the swing of things. And Michael Gallup is reportedly all off season he said he's felt great. He hasn't felt this good in a long time. Says he's raring to go. And in the case of the MCL situation with Brandon Cooks, this could be a really good spot for Michael Gallup to step up. And it's not a bad thing to have when Michael Gallup is your third receiver, where a lot of teams before his injury would have had him as at least their number 2 receiver. So for me, it's I think what'll happen is you're going to see if Brandon Cooks cannot go. I would say you're going to see more Kevontae Turpin, who was a wide receiver at TCU of back in the day, and he most recently before the Cowboys was in the USFL. But he has he's a smaller guy. He's even smaller than Brandon Cooks. He's one of the smallest guys in the league, besides Deuce Vaughn, another Dallas Cowboy. But I think he's 150 pounds. Kevontae Turpin is, but he was a good receiver in college. He's flashed that ability, and the Cowboys may have to turn to him because if there's one thing that Turpin has that not too many people have, is it's game-breaking speed, just like Brandon Cooks. He's one of those guys that if you get him in the open field, unlike your boy Breece Hall this past week, where he got caught 70 yards downfield. That's not happening. That's not happening with Turpin. If Turpin gets wide, loose, sorry Sauce, sorry DJ, y'all aren't catching him. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. So I would say it's more so if Cooks doesn't play, I could see more of a Kevontae Turpin situation. I do think Michael Gallup will get his reps. I feel like with more of a jump ball situation, I think that's where it goes. And obviously, CeeDee Lamb plays in the slot, so you're gonna. I'm actually more curious to see who the Jets are gonna put in the slot against him because Michael Carter, he's a good slot guy. Obviously, you got Sauce, you got Reed. These guys are all good players, but are you gonna sacrifice Sauce or DJ Reed to go inside? Or are you gonna keep him on the outside? I'm curious because I'll say this, watching, and Michael Carter, I have a lot of respect. He's a solid cornerback, but if I'm the Jets, I'm not putting him one-on-one against CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb will cook him.
Yeah, we'll see. It's interesting because, historically speaking, the Jets just kind of say, whatever the offense is coming, line up. That's how confident they feel in their own guys of like Sauce not traveling, DJ Reed on the other side, and then as you mentioned, Michael Carter II, who's in the slot. So most of the time, they're like, buckle your chin strap, son. If you want to put him in the slot, see ya. MC2 is going to be on him, and we will live and die by that decision. Although in the season opener last year, which again, Sauce is a rookie and DJ Reed is first game as a Jet, they shadowed Sauce on Mark Andrews, so they could get freaky if they want to. They could get funky occasionally. It will be interesting because to your point, Lamb Chop, one of the most dynamic players in the NFL, who somehow is underrated on the Cowboys and is a star receiver, which somehow is hard to wrap my brain around. But RJ was talking about that earlier this week as well. He's an interesting player. One thing I will say, though, that if it's almost like one of those questions we talk about in the summer. Man, if the Cowboys could add any player from their history right now in their prime, drop on the team, who would you add? And one of the guys that spoke out to me, again, the Cowboys, this is nitpicking because the Cowboys beat the Giants with a rusty wrench, 40 to squat. But I just thought, man, if they had Jason Witten in his prime, because I was looking at the tight ends that the Cowboys were trotting out in that week 1 game, I was kind of underwhelmed. And again, I'm nitpicking. I understand that, but to me, that's the guy that I wish that they could have on this kind of offense because they could even take it to another level. Am I speaking out of turn here? Is there some level of tight end production that could come out of nowhere, or is there someone we're not showing enough love to heading into this one?
You're not crazy for putting a guy like Jason Witten, who is one of the greatest tight ends to ever lace up a pair of cleats. If you put him in, his prime into this offense, Dak's going to go for over 5,000 yards easily. That would be crazy. But yeah, a lot of people are throwing a little flack at the Cowboys tight ends. The tight end room is young. There's some inexperience there. You have a Jake Ferguson who was he's a second-year player, played at Wisconsin. He's got the family ties with a former Wisconsin coach and legend Barry Alvarez. He was a 4th-round pick last year. He showed flashes of potential, which is why they got rid of Dalton Schultz, or part of the reason why they got rid of Dalton Schultz. And they also obviously needed to upgrade the position even more when they drafted Luke Schoonmaker out of Michigan in the 2nd round this year. But I've been saying it all offseason. Jake Ferguson is the guy. I know Schoonmaker is the 2nd rounder, so he comes with a higher draft capital used up. But at this stage of the game, Jake Ferguson is the most complete tight end on the team. And you could see it in the game. Dak Prescott was looking his way a lot. It wasn't Jake Ferguson's best game, but Jake Ferguson will have better games ahead. He's a very talented guy. Luke Schoonmaker's still working his way, in. And then also Peyton Hendershot is another guy to look out for. He's more of I would say he's more of the seam stretcher of the three. But Jake Ferguson, and actually the whole tight end group, a lot of people aren't talking about this, but they did a heck of a job blocking in the run game. So yes, the pass game was what it was this past week. I also will equate it to really bad field conditions and the rain and everything. So I'll put that in there. And I think the Cowboys, obviously the defense and special teams did what they needed to do. So I thought it was a very conservative approach anyways by the Texas Coast offense that is being called by Coach Mike McCarthy. So for me, it's, I think you'll see a better version of those tight ends in the receiving game going forward. They're not getting enough love, but there's no Jason Kelsey on this team. I mean, there's not too many Jason Kelseys out in the wild right now. Anyways, obviously, there's he's one of the best tight ends in the league. But these guys as a group, I love the depth. I think they all bring different aspects to the game, and I think don't be surprised if Jake Ferguson catches a red zone touchdown this weekend.
Interesting. All right. Well, I feel ashamed that we've waited this long to talk about it, but Cowboys defense, talk dirty to me. What do we got? Hype up video, Dallas Cowboys. You're telling somebody about the Cowboys defense. What are you telling them about this unit?
I'm talking about one guy and one guy in particular. It's the Lion, or as I like to call him, the Unicorn, Micah Parsons, baby. Micah Parsons may have not filled up the stat sheet this past week. You look at the box score. Okay, great. The box score, there wasn't a lot going on there. But what he did do is he drew so much attention that guys like Osa Odigizua he got 2 sacks in the game. He got Dorrance Armstrong 2 sacks in the game, which a lot of people in Cowboys land were thinking Dorrance Armstrong was the guy that we could put on the trade block and get something for him. After that performance, Dorrance Armstrong is going to be on the Cowboys this year, and he's a very talented player. And the thing that I will tell you, the Jets fans are going to have to watch out for this entire game Sunday afternoon is the pass rushers that the Cowboys possess are at the top of the league. They can bring in a guy. So you obviously have Micah Parsons. I already mentioned that. I didn't mention Sam Williams, who was a guy who had he had 12 sacks in college in the SEC just 2 years ago at Ole Miss, and so we got him in the second round last year. So the Cowboys used some heavy draft capital at a position that already has a guy named DeMarcus Tank Lawrence, who is one of the best pass rushers in the game. And then, former top 5 pick in Dante Fowler, who's a Dan Quinn guy who's had a little bit of a resurgence since being paired back up with our guy DQ. And then you also, you got guys like Mozzie Smith that are going to be great in the interior. I mentioned Osa Odigizua. He's another great guy. Jonathan Hankins is a run stuffer. That defensive line, I have to say it. It's going to be Godspeed for your offensive line this weekend. Now, I will say this: the thing about this matchup that makes me nervous just a tad is the Jets possess not only a 2-headed monster but a 3-headed monster in the backfield. And I'm worried about Breece Hall. I'm worried about Dalvin Cook and the other Michael Carter. I know that I'm worried about the 3 of those guys. I know Michael is more of a third down guy, but he's that 3-headed monster. That's if I'm the Jets and I'm game planning against this awesome pass rush, one of the best pass rushes in the league, and for my money, the best pass rush in the league. You know what you do? You run, and you got 3 running backs that are capable of doing it. And Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall is the 1-2 punch. If the Jets are going to have a chance this weekend, I don't see much faith in your guy Wilson. I just think Zach Wilson is just not. He's not the guy, and clearly when he played, I mean, yes, the Jets did win this past Monday night without Aaron Rodgers against a really good Buffalo Bills team. Yes, the Buffalo Bills are still good. Josh Allen did not have a great performance. Jordan Whitehead had three receptions, as I like to call it, because Josh Allen I don't know what he was doing. He was finding 3 all game long. I don't know what was going on, but the Buffalo Bills are a team that I still have high. I speak very highly of. I think they're a very good team. So the Jets, even with Zach Wilson, they still, they came out with a victory. They did their thing because Aaron Rodgers was only in for 4 plays. It was unfortunate that whole situation just stunk. But the key to that game was they didn't put the ball in Wilson's hands. It was very much a short. I would say this: they put gloves on him. I saw that out there somewhere. They put gloves on him. They weren't letting him throw the ball deep. It was more so short, intermediate, inside. Within 10 yards, and then hand the ball to Dalvin. Hand the ball to Breece Hall. That's the key for the Jets. If as a Cowboys fan and the guy who covers the Cowboys, that's the Jets. That's what they have to do. They got to play great defense, which anything can happen in the league. The Cowboys have a good team, a good offense, but I don't sleep on the Jets. The Jets have some weapons. Quinnen Williams, I can't believe we haven't talked about him. Quinnen Williams is to me, I wish he was on the Cowboys because that's how good that guy is. Quinnen Williams is one of the best. I think if I'm not mistaken, among interior defensive linemen, I think he finished second in the league in sacks last year. So he's one of those guys I am not looking forward to seeing on Sunday. And then obviously you got Sauce, DJ, Whitehead. I don't need Whitehead getting another three interceptions. So we're gonna have to cool that off. But the Jets' key to beating America's team, the best team in the league right now, in my opinion, is they have to run the ball and they got to play defense. It's as simple as that. If they can somehow stop that Cowboys juggernaut against that Cowboys offense, and they run the ball very well with Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, that's how you guys win.
I love it, Brent. I love the honesty with that because you mentioned that's something that makes you nervous. And I'm going to be honest. If you would have asked me, if we would have pre-prognosticated, so prior to the Bills game, Paul, what do you think about Breece Hall? Obviously, I think he's dynamic, but come on, let's be honest. He tore his ACL in October. Let's see when that explosion is going to come. We saw the explosion on the first run of the game. He had 26 yards. And then his second run of the game went for 83. So think about this. This is a wild stat. In his first 2 rushing attempts of the game, he was in the top 5 of league-leading rushers in the entire week 1 on his first 2 rushing attempts. What the hell? He's a friggin' alien, so you have every right to be nervous. And to be honest, which is kind of crazy because no, I guess Dalvin's surgery was later, but still, Dalvin's the one who looked like his sea legs weren't quite under him in that first game from an efficiency standpoint. There were a couple of pops in the screen game and things of that nature, but it will be, I think you're right. The Giants, in their marginal success they had against the Cowboys when things were working, they were running the ball with Saquon. It was looking pretty good, and then obviously everything fell apart. So if they want to do that, that's one way to potentially neutralize a pass rush. Our poll of the day, which everyone can see in whatever article they happen to be reading that's connected to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now on this post, is the Jets are a 9-point road underdog. They opened as a 3-point underdog on the road, but obviously a key change happened at the quarterback position, and the Vegas people said, let's give that a quick audible. So now the Jets are a 9-point road underdog against the Dallas Cowboys. Who will cover the spread is our poll of the day, so you guys can continue to vote on that down below. I flip it over to you, Brandon, for a prediction to wrap this show up. How do you see this one playing out? I already mentioned I'm flying literally after the show. I'm jumping on a plane to Dallas and flying there. So I will be there in person in Jerry's World to see this. So I will ask you, Brandon, what am I going to see? Pull out the crystal ball. What kind of score prediction here? And what do you make of this 9-point road underdog for the Jets coming in?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I don't think 9.5 points is enough. I think the Cowboys are going to win by two touchdowns. I think it's going to be a 14-point situation there where I'll say this. I think it's going to be like a 31-17. I think I did my math right there. 31-17 type game. I'm not going to say the Jets are going to get blown out because I think they're a better team than the Giants. I think we all obviously saw that. The Giants got some work to do. And the Jets did play, well enough to beat the Buffalo Bills this past weekend. So, or this past Monday. So it's one of those things where I think the Cowboys will cover the spread. They're going to win by 14. It'll be close for a little bit. And my prediction is they're going to let Zach Wilson do just a little bit too much. And I think the Cowboys will inevitably pull away for a 31-17 victory over your New York Jets.
I will tell you this. If the Cowboys are going to get to 31 points, I think it's going to have to come with some gifts from Zach Wilson, a pick six or something of that nature, which, by the way, is always possible when Zach Wilson is that quarterback. But that is the key potentially for the Cowboys to get that many points. And maybe they won't need them against this Jets offense because they're the ones who are going to have to generate the points. But nonetheless, I'm fascinated. This is an intriguing matchup. There's star power on both sides. I heard Mike McCarthy earlier this week drooling over Quinnen Williams, and why wouldn't you? He's been spectacular. So it should be a fun matchup nonetheless. Brandon, like I said, I love connecting with all the, like RJ I haven't spoken to in like a couple years or, consistently speaking, but a guy that I talk to all the time. It's awesome to be able to chop it up and talk some football, man. So we got to do this more often. I wish the Jets and Cowboys played more often because we definitely would. But nonetheless, man, this was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, brother. You're absolutely right. The Cowboys and Jets, obviously, by the series, it's only been 12 games in total. So we'll get to do this every few years, which is fine. And you know what? We'll continue our normal trash talk off the air, and then when we watch some games together or whatnot. So it's been a pleasure. I know we talk a lot about football, but we also talk about a lot of things, wrestling and the rest of the world. So our back and forths never end. I'm just blessed that I got to come on and I got to follow a guy named RJ Ochoa, who's the fearless leader over at Blogging the Boys. So much love and appreciation for what he does for Blogging the Boys, and thanks for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, guys, you see it with the handle under that handsome mug of his. Make sure you hit it up on Twitter X or whatever the hell we're calling it, Icebreaker21. Make sure you follow him. I know he's a Cowboys guy, but still, I think it's fascinating to learn insights from other people from other sides. So make sure you join that thriving army, Icebreaker21, on the X or Twitter machine or Bird app, whichever you prefer for names. I know that sort of thing is fluid here in 2023 on what we're calling things, but feel free to do that there on the channel. Brandon, thanks. I got to hit a flight because we're going to Dallas, baby, for the first time in my life with my dad, who's a diehard Cowboys guy. So it should be a lot of fun. I know we'll be texting and can't wait. Thanks, man.
Absolutely, brother. Safe travels. And your dad's on the right side of history. It's unfortunate that you didn't follow the apple too far from the tree on that, because unfortunately you're a Jets fan. All kidding aside, have a lot of fun. You and your dad make some great memories. I was down in Dallas a handful of years ago with my old man, so have a lot of fun, and don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Yeah, no promises there, but I would also say, like, come on, Boy Blue Daily. I'm not sure if that has the same sizzle, but nonetheless, maybe in an alternate life, that's where I could have been. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Boy Green Daily. Like I said, the next show we'll do, Boy Green Daily style, will be in Dallas. So I believe Ty Butler is supposed to be joining us for that one. And then my dad will be joining us for the game day preview. We'll both be in the same location before we head over to AT&T. So everybody, we'll see you in Dallas. Thanks for tuning in. Show your support everywhere. And